Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the CD guy, Johnny Z here. Thank you so much for tuning back into the channel, and in light of the ensuing chaos going on social media between David Gilmour and company and Roger Waters, I thought, why not bring back frontman fights here for episode number 3. Between David Gilmour and Roger Waters today, I'm going to be debating who is the better member of Pink Floyd. Just a quick note here, this is a completely apolitical video. We talk music on this channel, not politics, so whatever Roger's political beliefs are have nothing to do with this video. I'm talking about Roger versus David completely from a musical perspective. This is going to be divided here into 3 categories, so it's the best 2 out of 3, and category number 1 is lyricism. Who is a better lyricist between David Gilmour and Roger Waters? And both men have very different writing styles. It's difficult to choose because of what both David and Roger have brought to the table. Of course, Roger was the band's primary songwriter from a lyrical perspective for many years, but in the albums following his departure, lyrics were written by David Gilmour on A Momentary Lapse of Reason, and then subsequently on The Division Bell by Gilmour and wife Polly Sampson. And while both of those records are fine, they're clearly lacking something lyrically. They just sound like paint by numbers Pink Floyd to me, whereas Roger's lyrics on some of those earlier albums were able to convey many different emotions that shape the thematic elements of a number of their classic records as we know and love them today. So, while, both, like I said, both men bring something different to the table when it comes to, their songwriting abilities here from a lyrical perspective, I'm going to have to go with Roger Waters here, winning category number 1. I think definitely a better lyricist between the two, just such a poignant lyricist in my opinion, and, like I said, able to convey a wide array of emotions on a lot of those classic Pink Floyd records. As for who is the better singer between the two, I think Roger Waters' voice can best be described as powerful and explosive, conveying many different emotions with his voice, but out of the two, I think it's David Gilmour's melodic, almost angelic at times voice that is far superior, at least in my opinion. His vocals on tracks like Wish You Were Here, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, and shared vocals on tracks like Mother, Comfortably Numb, and Goodbye Blue Sky are nothing short of incredible. I also think his voice has probably aged better than Roger's has, whereas, he's taken a much more softer approach to his voice. Roger's voice is not as strong as it once was, in my opinion, so out of the two, when it comes to who has the better voice, I'm going to have to go with David Gilmour here, tying things up at 1 apiece. This is definitely the hardest category here, which is why I saved it for last. The tiebreaker here, albums. Now, obviously, it's very difficult because, Roger Waters and David Gilmour performed together on a number of classic Pink Floyd albums. As a matter of fact, a majority of Pink Floyd albums, Roger and David Gilmour were playing together on those records. So, very difficult here, but I'm going to try my best to, discern who is the better performer and contributed more on, in the Pink Floyd catalog during their classic period and then after Roger's departure. So, that said, let's first go back all the way to the departure of Syd Barrett, where Roger Waters would become the band's thematic leader and primary lyricist, devising concept behind, classic Pink Floyd records like Dark Side of the Moon, as well as Animals, Wish You Were Here, and of course The Wall. And after Roger Waters would depart the band, David Gilmour at the helm would continue with Pink Floyd. And during this post-Waters era, the band would release 3 studio albums, that being A Momentary Lapse of Reason, The Division Bell, and The Endless River. So between both eras here, I think the music remains strong in both eras, but the post-Waters stuff is definitely lacking in lyricism, like I was saying before. And something that made Floyd's music so poignant in the 70s was the lyrics by Roger Waters. And I think while David Gilmour had the better voice, Roger Waters wrote the better lyrics, which does contribute here to this third category of whose performance on each album was far superior, and so while it's unfair to give all the credit to Roger for the classic era of Pink Floyd, the creative force behind much of it, although the legendary guitar work by David Gilmour, the talents of Nick Mason and Richard Wright cannot go understated, it's very hard here not to give the nod here to Roger Waters for his leadership during the band's classic era, right, the thematic elements that he would incorporate on so many of their classic albums throughout the 70s. So for me, I just think Roger Waters was the face of Pink Floyd for so long, and it was his creativity that led to a lot of those classic records, even though, like I said, the work done by Gilmour on guitar, Nick Mason, and Richard Wright was iconic as well and should not go understated. I just think for category number 3 here, I gotta go with Roger Waters. Again, if this was a competition to see who was the better human being, obviously David Gilmour would come out on top, but I think in this instance here, it's about separating the musician from the person, and so Roger Waters, I think, definitely the better member of Pink Floyd when it comes to, contributions over the years. It was his creative stranglehold on the band that led to all those classic classic albums in the 70s from a thematic, lyrical perspective, and obviously the work on those records by the rest of the band should not be understated. David Gilmour, one of the greatest guitarists of all time, and an amazing vocalist in his own right. But for me, I just think that when it comes to the better member of Pink Floyd and, what they contributed to the band, Roger Waters has to come out on top here. So, winning episode number 3 of Frontman Fights, gotta go with Roger Waters over David Gilmour from a musical perspective. Again, this is a completely apolitical conversation and has nothing to do with, what they're talking about on social media right now, bickering back and forth. We're supposed to be celebrating 50 years of Dark Side of the Moon this year, so I guess it wouldn't be an anniversary without Gilmour and Roger Waters having some kind of a discrepancy. So, that said, that wraps up episode number 3 of Frontman Fights. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, turn on the bell for notifications so you never miss a new upload, and let me know down in the comments below, who do you prefer as a musician between David Gilmour and Roger Waters, and be sure to vote in the community tab as well. I'd be very interested in hearing your thoughts on that. And until next time, it's the CD guy, Johnny Z, signing off. Take care, everybody.